to Bolabimedia. I'm so excited to have you all today for an extraordinary section, and I believe you are in for a good seat. We're diving deep into a topic that resonates with the soul of Africa, rediscovering the African heritage, stories, symbols, and sites. To know, we will explore the untold stories, meaningful symbols, and hidden heritage sites that hold the key to our continent's rich history and culture. Joining me today is a special guest who knows these treasures like the back of his hand. Please welcome Mr. Moedin Yusuf Laika, the creative director of Time for Tour Adventurer Limited. He is an experienced tour guide and incredible storyteller who has spent years exploring and sharing Africa's cultural wonder. Together, we will uncover stories and meanings behind the sites and symbols that many have never heard of. Whether you're a cultural seeker, an adventurer, or simply curious about African ingredients, this section will inspire and educate you. And don't forget, we want to hear from you. Drop your questions and thoughts in the chat as we go along. Did you know there is a hidden site in Africa that holds a legend passed down from generations but remain unknown to many? Stay with us as Time for Talk share stories like this and many more. Without further ado, let's begin our journey into discovering the arts and heritage of Africa. Time for talk. Let's start by hearing about what first drew you to this incredible site.
Thank you, sir. Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mohideen Olainka Yusuf. I'm the creative director of Time for Tour Adventurers Limited, a Quora-based tourism firm. We specialize in promoting the uniqueness of cultural heritage in Quora, Nigeria as a whole, through the promotion of domestic tourism. Of course, as a tour personality, as a tourism promoter, before I get to this stage, I happen to be a lover of history and culture. So having studied tourism management in school, it gave me the insight into a lot of areas that I love to explore, most especially when it deals with culture and history. And when I resumed to school, the first lecture I received was actually by one of the best lecturers, one of my own best lecturers ever, and it was Art, Heritage, and Culture. That class alone actually cemented my interest to study tourism because it deals with like the name implies, art, heritage, and culture. So it focuses more on African arts, on our culture and heritage. And like I said, as a lover of history and culture, that course alone actually captured my interest. And since then, to the glory of God, we have been exploring every hidden gems in Nigeria, every hidden gems in Africa. We have been reading about some of those other places that we would love to visit. So that course alone, art, heritage, culture, being a lover of history and culture, actually took me onto this journey. And it's not a regrettable one.
Okay. So, can you tell us about a heritage site that left a deep impression on you and why it stands out?
Yeah, there are a lot of heritage sites, and in fact, I will be speaking, if time permits, on most of them, and I'll focus more on the cultural aspect of this. Africa is one of the largest continents in the world, and at the moment, Africa alone, I will also make sure that I focus more on the World Heritage Site, that is those areas that has been generally accepted by UNESCO. You understand me, sir? So as at now, generally in the world, we have 1,223 heritage sites across the world, while 952 of them are cultural, 231 natural, and 40 mixed. Mixed talks about those ones that encompasses both the natural and the cultural heritage all in one. Now, going back to Africa, where we have all of these 1,223 heritage sites cut across 168 countries of the world. And Italy has the most sites recorded and accepted by UNESCO. It has 60 heritage sites, China with 59, and Germany follows. In Africa, we have 147 of these heritage sites across 46 countries of Africa. And Ethiopia takes the lead with 11 sites, followed by South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria. Now, when you look at some of those areas that are the leading tourist sites, talks more on the east and northern part of the continent. And this is because even looking at historically, we observe that countries of North Africa and some part of countries of East Africa were actually ancient countries, or should I say ancient kingdoms. They were both captured in history, that we have read a lot about them. So most of them has lots of these heritage sites that watch a tourist to visit. Now, coming back to my own country, Nigeria, we have two heritage sites in our country. That is the one of the most popular is the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove, and also another one in the north. So these two destinations have actually led a lasting impression on me as a Nigerian, and it will one of the key how would I even put it, value and core value of our organization is to promote some of these destinations, encourage domestic tourism. Now, looking at all of this, it will interest me to say that almost all has led a lasting impression on me. But the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove is something that I would never forget. I visit there almost every year. I witness the Osun-Osogbo Festival almost every year. And what takes me there every year is every year that I get there, I always have a new take home. Something always stays with me before the next one. And as a tourist, one of the things that makes tourism beautiful and unique is that even a single destination, when you visit at several times, you go on with several memories. You go on with different memories. So if you had visited a destination 10 times, that means you are going to have 10 different memories of that same destination. So tourism is that beautiful, and Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove has actually led a lasting impression. I would love to always visit. Is a place I always market, even before thinking of any other part of Africa.
Okay, talking about heritage sites, are there any symbols, or let me say artifacts, that are commonly found at heritage sites? I mean, that hold the meanings to it.
Of course, that is why it's an heritage site. When we talk about heritage, heritage talks about something we hold dearly. Most of us, especially in Africa, where we believe that no, this land is my father's inheritance. It's our heritage. Why are we laying emphasis on some of these things? It's because it is dearly to us. It is something of significance. It is unique. It is what we do not want to lose. It is what we also want to pass to our children. Now, some of those things, before it was even accepted by UNESCO, before the community, everything starts from the local community. The local community must have been appreciating this thing, they must have been preserving it, they must have been sustaining it before it gets to the outside world. So if it holds no value to them, if it's of no importance to them, if it doesn't have either a cultural or cultural significance to them, it won't still be preserved to this moment. For instance, looking at the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove, Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove was actually put in this space that it is today by Lady Sinzawinga. Before she came, the group was there, but she added glamour, she added value, she promoted it, she brings it to limelight, she made it worth a destination that anybody from Osun State, anybody from Osogbo, anybody from Nigeria, anybody from the part of Africa would love to visit. And the Osun-Osogbo Festival being incorporated, the Osun-Osogbo Festival being one of the leading cultural festivals in the continent, makes this place more popular because the Osogbo, Osun devotees are all around the world. Now, it's an avenue for them to come home to their roots. It's an avenue for them to come back to where they believe they could, see eye to eye with the godhead herself. So most of those places are worthy places of preservation. They are worthy places that needs to be maintained and sustained. And to the glory of God, the local community has been doing that. The government of the day, starting from the local, the state, the federal, the regional, and now UNESCO, are seeing the cultural and the significant value of most of these destinations. Yes, all destinations, like I said earlier, I'll focus more on the cultural aspect. I'll focus more on the cultural aspect. And when we talk about our culture, is our total way of life. So anything that holds a cultural value to me will surely be preserved by myself, my children, grandchildren, just the same way my forefathers has preserved that same destination. So we are also doing the same. Some of these destinations we're talking about could be in terms of monuments, could be in terms of remains, etc. So all these things, it's what's being passed across the coming generation. It's what's being preserved. It's what's being sustained. It's a thing of pride. And all destinations, all heritage sites, of course, hold a significant value all around the world. In fact, the most visited heritage site in the world today is actually in China. That's the Forbidden City in Beijing. Before you can say you want to visit the Forbidden City, you will have read a lot about it, you will have heard a lot about it, and now traveling out of your country to China, to Beijing, to witness the Forbidden City, something must have catch your attention. You must have been curious about something. And if the people of China has neglected this Forbidden City, other people from other parts of the world will not be visiting today. So they cherish it. That is why other people appreciate what they have cherished. So all destinations, all heritage sites has something very unique. And that is why destination A is different from destination B. Because of its uniqueness and something tangible to that particular makes all heritage site a unique destination.
Okay. So based on your experience and exposure, what are some lesser known heritage sites that you felt people need to know and probably why?
Yeah, firstly, I will speak more on what is just right behind our doors here as a Nigerian. Like I said earlier, one of our key promote domestic tourism. I want to say domestic tourism. Every country has domestic tourism, things that has to do with them, things you can only find in their country. And let me start with the National Museum here in Nigeria, the first National Museum in Nigeria. That's the National Museum is here, home of stone images. It's a museum that wants to be more publicized. A museum where people are expected to visit all the time and every time they have the opportunity to visit, because it talks more about history, it talks more about culture of the people. And not just only that, even the National Museum Jos is one of the, if not the largest museum in the country. This is a museum that houses all the destinations within it. Mutna is there and several other 100 steps to Aviseri. This Aviseri, they're one of the ancient settlers in the plateau. So all of these places are places that one really need to visit. The Suko cultural landscape is a beautiful destination in Nigeria that one needs to visit. The Mambula Plateau is another destination that, of course, anyone needs to visit that place too. Now, the Kajuru Castle is in Kaduna State. If you have the privilege to go online to search the Kajuru Castle, you will know that these are destinations that are worth visiting. Obudukatu Ranch is there. It's a place that Nigerians, it's a place that the world need to visit. Also, the Basilica of Our Lady of Peace in Cote d'Ivoire. It's a church. That's the world's largest church in the world. You know, these are areas that we need to visit. In fact, the entire Africa, the entire countries of Africa has something very unique that one must visit. How would you travel down to Africa and you would not even think of visiting the Moray pyramids in Sudan? How do you want to be in Africa and you wouldn't visit the lemon cultural landscape here in Africa? How would you be in Africa and you wouldn't visit the Kilimanjaro National Park in Tanzania? How would you be in Africa and you would not visit the Great Victoria Fall in Zambia and Zimbabwe? All places that, of course, they might have the recognition. In fact, the Victoria Fall is one of the most visited waterfalls in the world. Now, these are places that call for more visitation. The top 10 heritage sites in the world. I don't think we have any site from Africa from the top 10 heritage sites in the world. Now, that's to tell us that in terms of promotion, we still have a lot to do. Africa has something unique. Africa should be competing, because when we look at the ancient kingdoms of the world, we have them here in Africa. Now, if China has our 4 to 5 most visited destination among the top 10 destinations in the world, what is topping us in Africa? When you look at kingdoms that they were mentioned in the holy books, Egypt has a lot of these heritage. Like I said, Egypt has about 7 heritage sites. Or you want to talk about Tunisia, you want to talk about Morocco, you want to talk about Ethiopia. Ethiopia alone has 11 heritage sites. And Ethiopia is a country, in fact, before being a country, is one of the oldest kingdoms in the world. So it has a lot of things that could draw the attention of what tourists on daily and weekly and monthly and yearly basis to the country. And that is how it cuts across all countries of Africa. All countries of Africa, we need to do more in the area of promotion. Our heritage site is supposed to compete favorably with some of the best in the world by attracting tourists all year round.
Okay, thank you very much.
The capacity is there. These destinations has the capacity to attract tourists all year round. It has that capacity, and we need to do more on the area of promotion. I have mentioned like about 7 or 8 places that needs more publicity and more visitation will surely come in if we have that kind of publicity.
Okay, thank you very much. Since we are focusing more on the cultural aspects of our heritage sites, can you tell us probably a cultural stories that is tied to one of these sites that most people might not know of?
Of course, every cultural destination has something unique about them. And like I said, our culture is our identity. Our culture is what makes us whom we are. Our culture is what makes us different from other people. And there is no lesser culture. No culture is superior than the other culture. The uniqueness of our cultures might be different, but our culture still remain our culture. It is what defines whom we are. It's our identity. Now, looking at one of these places that I would surely talk about, I will be speaking more on the National Museum this year, being the first museum in the country, established in 1945, making reference to Africa now, making reference to Nigeria. Before a particular museum could be regarded, before a place, let me put it that way, before a place could be set aside to be a museum, it tells us that it owes a significant historical value. Now, this destinations being made the first museum in the country, Nigeria being one of the most populous country of Africa. Now, a particular location, a particular destination being the first recognized destination of historical value tells us a huge cultural impact of this destination in question. It tells us a huge impact. And, the National Museum, they made us to know that it's the largest collection of soapstone images in the world. Housing over 1,500 soapstone figurines. These figurines are depicts of humans. Oral tradition says human turns to those stones. Now, the possibility of humans then, out of disobedience, turning to stone should be uncovered, should be researched. More information should be pushed out. More knowledge should be pushed out, so that those people who are curious to know more about this kind of cultural and historical aspect of people's life should be able to make visits to these destination. The federal, the state, and the local community, and all tourism lovers out there are expected to research more about this location, to bring it more to the public of the international community, to know that there is a particular place that houses over 1,500 soapstone images, the largest figurine collections in the world. If this were to be a developed country, the level of publicity that would have been given to this destination would be so massive. We can do the same. It has a huge cultural impact. And when the archaeologists came to counter the oral traditions that says no, humans cannot turn to stone, they gave reasons. And one of the reasons is that they said the size of these figurines are too small compared to human size. That is one of the reasons, one of the points given by the archaeologists. They believe all of these things were carved by unknown carvers. Now, if they were carved by unknown carvers, they gave a reason that the first thing, saying that the size of those figurines does not depict that of a human. Then there is further research to be done there. Then they said when we look at it critically, we'll discover that the outer part of the figurine were well polished, while the inner part of it are not as polished as the outer part. Now, this is a huge statement that they have a huge point on that. Okay, fine. The human size is too small. A human cannot depict this. The outer part of the figurines were well polished. The innermost part are not as polished as the outer part. And they gave three reasons why the oral tradition came to counter what the archaeologists are trying to propose about it. Like, say, okay, fine. If you say they were carved by unknown carvers, who are the carvers? You understand? Who are the carvers that really carved these figurines? I'm very sure they should have descendants who would come back and say, okay, our forefathers carved this. But till today, we have not seen or heard of a particular person or family who lay claim or who are laying claim to these figurines. And the oral tradition still stood on their way to say, no, these figurines were not really carved, because if they were carved, tell us, this type of stone, the type of stone that was actually used in the carving, where can we find such type of stone around the location of this museum? So, in fact, in the entire North Central, I don't think there is a destination, there is a place that has the same type of stone, like the stone used in the carving of those images. This is one of the places that I would, that it hold a cultural value, it hold a significant story to us. And not just that, a lot of research has been done on the Benin bronze, the Ife bronze, the Igbo Ukwu, and the Nok. These four places are what projected Nigeria as one of the oldest regions in the world. One of the oldest. There is a particular research that is ongoing at the moment by one of my mentor, Dr. Rafik James. He is doing a huge research on the fact that civilization, or even humans, the cradle of the world, starts from Ile-Ife in present-day Osun State, Nigeria. Now, Dr. Rafik is a researcher. He's a lover of culture. He's a lover of research. He is a man who loves to reveal a lot to us, the coming generation, who wants to try and correct some of what has been passed on to us. Now, I'm following keenly one of his research. Like I said, being one of my mentors, I'm always right behind him when it comes to research, when it comes to historical, when it comes to history, when it comes to things that are enlightening us, things that want us to know more about our culture, things that want us to know more about our continent, things that want us to know more about our people. He is that kind of a person. And this research, the research that he's actually working on, he's going to reveal a lot of things about humans and our existence. So these are some of the areas that has a history that people can also research on. If being the cradle of the Yorubas in the world is actually a place everyone needs to visit every time. The Igbo Ukwu talks more about the Igbo, the North talk about how civilized that part of the country has been, the Benin bronze, and all of these are places that they have cultural value. Yes, they have a lot of cultural value that needs to be looked into in order to project more as Nigerians, as Africans to the world. We have read a lot about the Egyptian civilization. Having read about all of this, of course, we have the strong belief that there's still more to be dished out to the international communities.
Okay, thank you very much. So, what advice do you have for travelers who want to visit these sites while respecting their local customs and traditions?
Well, like I said earlier, culture is unique, and it makes us who we are. It talks more about us. For any tourist who wants to visit this part of the world, anywhere you want to visit to be present, you have to understand the culture of the people. You have to understand their custom. You have to understand uh, a lot about them and what they believe in. For instance, in the north, I will focus more on northern Nigeria. If you want to visit the palace, most of the palaces in the north, you are expected to be moderately dressed. You're expected to be moderately dressed. Now, if as an American or as a Westerner, you're visiting this part of the country, excuse me, you're visiting this part of the country and you haven't done a lot of research about their cultural value, you haven't done a lot of research about whom they are, you haven't done a lot of research about what they hold dearly, then you're not really ready for a visitation. So when you're visiting a destination, you expect to research well. Do proper research, know more about that destination, ask people who has been there, go online, look at review. The review from people who has visited this place will definitely help you in planning. So a proper research always help any tourist who wants to visit a destination before going to that destination.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, some few more questions, please. Are there any particular challenges faced in preserving African heritage sites? And how can visitors
Yes,
and
a lot.
tourists support the preservation in particular?
Yeah, firstly, let me talk about the problems. We have a lot of problem that is really affecting African heritage sites. And one of the leading problem is civilization. Civilization has been a major problem and it's really affecting us so dearly, especially here in Africa. So the way at which we embrace other people's civilization is affecting every aspect of our life, starting from our dressing. When you see an average Nigerian, an average African, they dress more in the Western way than even our own cultural attires. So like I made mention of, from our dressing, even the food, greetings, etc. All of these are what has been a key challenge to the preservation of our heritage in Africa. And I'll still streamline it back here to Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria, we are more, or we are foreign oriented economy. Now, as much as we believe more on what is being produced from other parts of the country, that's the same way we value their culture even more than our own culture. So civilization has been a problem. Secondly, religion. That's another key value. Another key value, religion. Religion has been, there is a huge difference between religion and culture. But the way they brought religions to us, the way our forefathers accepted religion from those people, Islam and Christianity, they do not really ask too many questions. They do not really ask some questions that need clarity. Now, some of the problems, some of the questions they fail to ask is now a challenging, is now a challenge, is now a problem to our heritage today. For instance, an average Muslim person who bears the name Abdul Rashid, if you tell them, my name is Yusuf Olainka, if I tell you I'm a Muslim and my name is Olainka, you ask me, what's your Islamic name? Why do I need to tell you my Islamic name if I am expected to cherish and promote my cultural name, Yusuf, my cultural name, Olainka? Now, the religion has made us to know that as a Muslim, you are expected to bear those Islamic names. As a Christian, you having the biblical name to some people looks more perfect to prepare your faith than even the cultural names that we have. So religion has also been another huge challenge to most of our heritage in Africa. And also we have Poor awareness, poor awareness of our heritage. A lot of people born, raised in a particular community do not even know more about herself or himself, do not even know more about the cultural value of what he or she has. For instance, I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago about the forthcoming Ijakadi Festival. Ijakadi Festival is an annual festival of the Ofa people in present-day Kwara State. Now, this guy was telling me that no, that kind of festival is too barbaric. Islam has taken over the world. Why do I need to visit Offer? Why do I need to cover the event? Why do I need to promote the destinations, etc.? Now I asked him, but can I promote the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Can I promote Hajj? He said, of course, it is Islamic. No, now my own heritage is now forbidden to me. And you want me to champion the cause of promoting other people's culture and uniqueness. I said it's not possible. There's a huge difference between our religion and our culture. The festival has nothing diabolical about it. It has nothing fetish about it. It is about their culture. It is about their heritage that they are trying to promote to the outside world. Now, how would you think, because I'm a Christian, because I'm a Muslim, I'm not expected to project, I'm not expected to promote, I'm not expected to talk about that kind of a worldly festival that has been preserved over centuries before this time. So religion and lack of awareness has been an huge issue. It's because the person does not have, he lacks the proper awareness. There's poor awareness of his cultural value. So he does not really know the importance or the value of the culture he has within him. Now he tends to neglect it. So lack of awareness is one of our problem. Then we another problems that we are encountering is lack of interest from the government. Our government do not really put interest in most of our cultural heritages that we have, most especially here in Africa, in Nigeria, to be precise. So our government needs to do more. Our government needs to create more awareness about our culture. And when we talk about culture, we can talk about some of the things that make a particular area unique and different from other areas, and that's our festival. For instance, in Kwara State, we have over 10 festivals, world festivals that are expected to be celebrated and pushed to limelight even by the state government and all other organizations that are involved. Public-private partnership would help in pushing out this destination. One of these festivals we're talking about is the Awon Mass Wedding Festival in Kwara State here. This is the largest marriage festival in Nigeria, where over 50 maidens are being married out in a single day, irrespective of their religious affiliation. A lot of people do not really know about this festival, and the government needs to come in to support, to promote this festival so that it wouldn't just be left for the local people or the host community. The government needs to come in, support this festival. You know, look at the Osun Osogbo Festival. It is being supported by international communities. It is being supported by the Osun State government. It is being supported by the federal government. And the Calabar Carnival, the Argugu Fishing Festival, the Abuja Festival, the Eyo Festival, all of these festivals are festivals that are being supported by the government of the host state. That is why they could go to where they are today. Look, there is this similar festival that they do in Brazil, similar to that Eyo Festival. These are festivals that are being generally accepted by the government, that has been promoted by the government, being sustained by the government, and publicity is being given to him. So I implore the federal government to at least help in improving the level of awareness, the state government to help in the level of awareness so that some of this heritage would not die. Some of this our heritage would also be passed on to the current generation. And another heritage that is going into extinction is our language. The government needs a lot of things to do in regards to our language. Now, in schools, we speak English. When you speak your local dialect, they will tell you it's unofficial. They will tell you you are not expected to speak this language in the school premises. Fine. It is not a must that English should be our official language. Nigeria is a multilingual state, and an average individual from the southwest understands Yoruba. An average person from the north understands Fulani or Hausa. An average person from the east or the south also organize Igbo and other languages. Now, why can't the government incorporate these major three languages into our official language? Because when you look at a country like India, India is bigger. India is more populous than Nigeria, and English is not even their only official language. Or this, the same way India were colonized, the same way British colonized Nigeria, is the same way they colonized India. Now, if India could preserve their culture, if you watch Indian movies, you will observe that the way they speak their local, I would not even call it local, the way they speak their own dialect, most of the times they speak over 85% of it in their languages, in their movies, and they need to translate it. Now, it is because they hold this in high value. That is why today it's still there. That is why today we still value it. Despite the fact that most of us do not understand the language, we still watch their movies. But we thank God for most of our movie producers here in Nigeria at the moment. They, especially those from the Yoruba Aziz, they are projecting our culture more. And we need our governments to come into it, to key into the system to project this culture. Our major three languages are expected to be looked into. The federal government should look into it and make an avenue where the Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo and any other languages could possibly be made our official language in Nigeria. If in school you are teaching someone English and the person is finding it very difficult to comprehend some things you are teaching because you are teaching in English that he does not really understand, come back to the local language that he understands. He is going to understand you more. I am a teacher. I do that in my classes. Anytime I explain to my students and they do not get it very well, I come down to the level, I come down to the language they speak all the time. I try to explain it to them in the language that they understand. And before you know what is happening, they grab it. So our government needs to also come to terms with how our culture could be preserved. So I think some of this is a huge problem. Some of this is a huge problem. And we believe it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
Okay, talking about the local communities, how do local community feels about their sites? And is there any traditions or practices they commonly do around them?
Yes.
I don't know if you get that question.
The local community, of course, I do. The local community appreciates these heritages. That is why we are still meeting them today. If not appreciated, they will have gone into extinction. It's because we appreciate them, and that is why today we still have them. Some of our culture, our heritage that is going into extinction is tribal mark that we have. Before, tribal mark hold a significant cultural value. But today, an average elite will tell you, why do you have to give my son, why do you have to give my daughter this kind of barbaric? They not see it as being barbaric. You understand? Because civilization has taken over, religion has taken over, there is no awareness anymore. Everyone do not want to give tribal mark anymore. Unlike before. Before we see it as the rich are those who have tribal marks because it's not meant for the poor. How many people could possibly afford putting tribal marks on the face of their children? And when we look at most of these people, they look so beautiful with their marks. And in fact, how would I put this? It's a cultural identity. Look at the late Alafin. The very moment you see him, you know what he represents. You don't need to dig too much. You know what he represents because the tribal mark alone is a message. The tribal mark alone is an identity. Now his dressing is another identity. Look at the current Olofa. May he continue to live in peace and reign longer. The mark is a cultural identity on its own that will make you to know that yes, this is a person that understands and cherish our culture. So the local community, the people who host this heritage actually hold them in high esteem. And most of these sites were actually preserved by the locals even before the government takes over. Before the local government sees them, understand it, before the state government say, okay, let's support this, before the federal government now say, okay, we are taking over completely. I will still make reference to Osun Osogbo. The festival has been there hundreds of years ago. So that was even before the creation of what we know today as Nigeria. They have been practicing it. They have been celebrating this festival. Now, it's because they value it, they cherish it, they keep pushing it, and they keep celebrating it. That is why the government of the government of Osun State and the federal government and the international accept it today. So the local people, they respect this, and they preserve and have been the key sustainers of this culture.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. Now, talking about our
You're
heritage
welcome.
sites, what are the common myths and misconceptions that people normally have? For instance, I could remember in one of the sites bolabimedia and his team visited, we visited Owu Waterfall in Kwara State, and we were told that the more you shout, the more the water velocity increases. Are there any other myths like this, or probably misconception that normally occur, or that people normally have?
Yes, of course. Of course, it is. There are a lot of it in several destinations. And looking at the first museum in Nigeria, the National Museum is here. We were made initially that was before research revealed that it's just a mythical statement. They will tell you that no, you don't take pictures in the museum. Several years ago, they don't allow pictures in the museum, not to even talk of videos. And what we were told back then was that if you take pictures, the camera will got damaged, etc. All of it. Now we are not taking pictures. What happened? Why is our camera not getting damaged? So things like that are everywhere. Sometimes when you visit some places, it's a destination that today our religious people has turned those places to be a prayer ground, especially mountains. They will tell you, no, 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 you have to off your shoes here. It's a praying ground. Before it becomes a praying ground, it's a place of cultural value to the people. So places like that and some other areas has something that today research has now revealed that it is not as it is being said. But one thing about culture is respecting other people's rules and regulation. And as a tourist, you are expected to take cognizance of the rules and regulations of your host community. Now, if you are visiting a destination and you are told, thou shalt not do this, then don't do it. That is a rule of that community. Do not do it. And that is why there is always rules for question and answer. When you visit a destination, there is always a grand tour, a grand tour guide. A grand tour guide will be able to explain to you in details why, the history of that particular place. Now, if you are curious, if there is a reason for you to ask a particular question, then ask the question why you are not doing that particular thing at that particular place. And I'm very sure he or she will be able to give you a convincing response. A convincing response. And like I said earlier, I'm a very curious person. And as a student of history, I love asking questions. So when I visited the National Museum back then, and they said, you can't take a picture of the museum, I have to ask them, what if I take the picture, what is going to happen? Not that I'm willing to take the picture, but if I'm telling other people, if I'm marketing the destination, I should be able to give them reasons why they shouldn't do that. Now, it was from my question I got the answer that, of course, not that picture were not really allowed, but the current Elysee, that is the traditional ruler of that community, is not expected to see eyeball to eyeball with another god residing in that museum. There is this cultural history that made us to understand that the head of the images, the head of the images that are the Oba Ere itself, the Elysee should not see eye to eye with the Obairi. So if you now look at this, now if you are allowed to take pictures and you're taking pictures, anyhow person can just take picture anytime. The new Elysee or any Elysee might be my friend. I will just pick up my phone and send what has been forbidden culturally onto his phone. So for that reason, they try as much as possible to prevent and to caution the effect at which people put some of these informations out there. So the basis of it is, if there is a particular law in a particular community, in a particular location, in a particular destination, a tourist is expected to follow strictly.
Thank you very much. Okay, so finally, before you answer one or two questions from our viewers, because I can see some of our viewers have been asking questions, I want to ask, what will you say is the most rewarding part of helping people discover these hidden gems? Like probably to you as a
Please
guide.
repeat. Please repeat. Recap your question, please. Recap your question.
Okay. I said as a tourist guide, what will you say is the most rewarding part of helping people
Okay.
discovering the site? Do you get that?
Oh, the most rewarding aspect of one of the most rewarding moments is always the laughter I put onto the face of the people after taking them to a tour, the knowledge I pass on to them, the satisfaction they derive after visiting a destination. I never led any group or either a private tour or a group tour, and the tourists would not look back to say, "Oh, Mr. Yusuf, you've." Of them will look back and say, no, please take this token as a means of appreciation. Because, as a tourist, as a tour guide, one of the first things you are supposed to do is be knowledgeable. You're expected to have a comprehensive information about a destination you are taking the tourists to. You should be able to tell them, you should know the nitty-gritty. You should be able to tell them the do's and the don'ts of that destination. Now, even if you yourself, you are not knowledgeable about a particular destination, how would you market the destination? How would you guide people there? How would you give the rules and regulations that you do not eat? So you are expected to be knowledgeable. You are expected to know more about the place. And like I said, I feel satisfied when my tourists give me a positive feedback that yes, they are satisfied. That satisfaction alone is something. And that's what we do. That's what I do for a living, myself and my team. That's where we get money. That's where we take care of our families. So we now begins to see people referring us and say, no, I have someone who can do this better. I have someone who can do this better. There was a time I led a group of hikers. That is the largest number of hiking in Ilorin. We were about almost 100 hikers who went to a particular destination here, very close to Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. And in the bus where we were going, I have to tell them a brief history about Kwara, important landmarks in Kwara, how those places becomes what they are today in Kwara. One of them asked to chat me privately after the tour to say that she had joined over 2 or 3 hiking groups in Ilorin, and mine was the most knowledge-driven hiking she has ever attended. It is because she gained more than just the hiking. She gained more than just hiking a particular trail. She was able to go back home with more knowledge. She was able to go back home. She was able to ask questions. I was able to give her a convincing response. I get satisfied when my tourists are satisfied. So that satisfaction alone is something for me.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's time to answer one or two questions from our viewers. Look at our live chat. There is a question from Mr. Abdullahi Basambo. He said, most youth, can I go ahead?
Yes, I'm here. I'm checking the question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah. To what Mr. Abdullah Ibrahim Basambo asked, he said most of youth today are Anglomania, and what do I think can be done to restore conservation and heritage preservation, right? I think the first thing I'll talk about there, it comes from the home, it comes from the family. Themselves have sold their cultural value. We've thrown away our own cultural value and we've embraced the cultural value of other people. We've embraced the cultural value of the West. Thereby, what you do not have, you cannot give. In as much as they do not even have the cultural value anymore, how then do you expect them to pass on that same cultural value they do not have to their kids? Now, to answer the question, The parent needs to do more in the aspect of preservation of our culture and heritages, starting from the language that I mentioned earlier. When you visit some homes, they speak more of English than even their local language. How? Why? Why do you think speaking of and reducing your own language to the foot is civilization? I do not see that as civilization. You see a lot of households today. If you ask them, a Muslim household, ask them that what is your name? He will tell you, my name is Abdulrazak Abdulaziz. A Yoruba man bearing Abdulrazak Abdulaziz, where is your cultural name? An Hausa man will tell you, I'm bearing Abubakar Usman. Where is your cultural name? So most of the parents has already thrown away the cultural heritage even within them. Now they need to begin to restore the cultural value. We need to begin to restore our heritage, starting from the name we give to our children. Starting from the name we give, the food. In some houses today, the best food of most of the children is actually rice and indomie. What happened to our mala? What happened to our isieu? What happens to our ewedu? What happens to our orula? What happens to our semo? Our pounded jam? What happened to our ewiyen? What happens to our okaidagone? So these are cultural food. These are cultural food. Now, an average kid will tell you, Mommy, I want rice. Mommy, I want beans. Mommy, I want spaghetti. Even looking at this live chat that we have been speaking English all through. English is not my local dialect. This should have been anchored, speaking our local dialect, while I will speak to people in the language that we both understand. But for generality's sake, for everyone to understand the message we're trying to pass across, I understand English being our lingua franca, it is expected to be used to pass the message. But what I'm saying here is that every parent should try as much as possible to hold in high esteem our cultural names, to hold in high esteem our belief. If a person should today says that I want to visit the Ijakadi festival, you will see a Christian or Muslim person that will tell you, Ijakadi, what do you want to go and do there? How would you expect me to leave my own culture after I've embraced another people's culture? It's not possible. I'm a Muslim and I visit all cultural festivals within my domain. If I have the opportunity to, I visit. Most especially those significant cultural festivals that speaks volume of our culture. The Jakadi Festival, the Awomas West Wedding Festival, the Oshun Oshogbo Festival, the Ojujoba Festival, the Doba Festival in Ilorin here, Oya Festival by God's grace, I'll be there. Ijakadi Festival by God's grace, I'll be there. The Twins Festival in Igora, I was there, and several other festivals. In fact, I should be in the Calabar Festival, but unfortunately, I have some other engagement. These are the cultural preservation we are talking about. These are the cultural promotion we are talking about. These are the cultural projection that we want people of the current generation to do. And, you know, when I said it earlier, even greetings, how would I, as a Yoruba person, well brought up by a Yoruba parent, stand straight and greet my parents? Ekaro, good morning. I must prostrate. That is whom I am. My culture tells me that as a Yoruba boy, I must prostrate for my parents, not just my parents, anyone older than me. And as the lady, you're expected to kneel. Today, most of us, the youth, will stand straight and greet our parents. We have lost the value. We've lost that cultural value. And some of these parents will tell you, no, it's nothing. It doesn't mean. So they can't give what they do not have. So most of this starts from the parents. The parents should appreciate this culture and pass the culture to the children, starting from the name, the food, the dressing, greetings, etc. That is one of the ways that we can preserve our culture. And in terms of the government should do in their own possible best to make sure that our culture is being projected in the outside world. To God be the glory. The immediate Minister for Tourism, she did her little best within the short period of time she has to project Nigerian tourism as it has always been. And the federal government needs to bring back the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, where our heritage, our culture and tourism we pushed out. We should not be merged under a particular ministry. But that is a discussion for another day. So everybody, it's a collective work. It's a collective work so that our culture will not go into extinction. I could remember during the time of late Olubadan of Ibadan, Aje Ogugulu. So I've actually forgotten his real name. We went to his palace with from a school during my postgraduate program. He told us everybody in this palace should speak Yoruba. If you cannot speak Yoruba, then let another person speak for you. That is cultural preservation. That is cultural preservation. I'm not expected. He understands English. He speaks very well. But entering his palace and you begin to bamboozle with English. What is that? He is a Yoruba king. He is expected to speak in preservation of our culture. That is one of the reasons why I love the late Alaafin. May his soul continue to rest in peace. He would speak, even from his dressing, you will see his abechaja. It has a meaning culturally as a Yoruba person. So some of these are what we're looking about. Our traditional leaders should also take this into a proper, should consider this, projecting the local culture. It's something very unique. Now, if from our local household, from the four corners of the room, we begin to appreciate our culture, it will get to our kinsmen, then it will get to our traditional rulers, then we begin to look out to the international community. There is a lot of work to do, and every one of us needs to come back and preserve what we are losing gradually.
Okay, talking about the Jakadi Festival, I think in Offa, one of our viewers asked when is the event coming up. I think that's a particular question the person asked.
Actually, the Jakadi Festival is coming up December, towards the end of the year. That should be December 26, 7, 8, 9, or is it December 27, 28, 29? Yes. In Offa. So if we have anyone among our listeners that would like to visit, by the special grace of God, we are packaging a tour to that festival, and we will be live there. So whoever that would love to be part of us should reach out to the anchor, bolabimedia, or myself after this program, so that we can have a comprehensive discussion on how that can happen. Like I said, let me just brush through for those who really want to visit this festival, and some other people that are actually looking at us. Like I said, myself and my team have been visiting a lot of festivals in Kwara State because we want to project, we want to promote our cultural heritage. We want to speak more about what our forefathers have not really been taken serious. We want to speak more about what has defined us to be whom we are. We want to speak about what makes us. We want to speak more about what makes us different from whom we are. To the glory of God, this year, myself and my team were at the Afon Fishing Festival. We were at the Doba Festival. We were at the Awon Mass Wedding Festival. And currently, there's a wedding festival. There is another festival in Laduba that is ongoing. It's a masquerade festival. My team were there, and we push out some information about the place very soon. And we're also preparing for Oya Festival. That should be next. And now we'll talk about the Ijakadi. Let me speak more on the Ijakadi based on what the question asked. The Ijakadi is a long-term cultural festival of our people, the Ibolo subgroup of Yoruba. It holds a lot of significant value for anyone who knows the Oriki of the Offa people. You cannot separate them with this Ijakadi Loro Offa. It's their tradition, and it has been preserved. It has been sustained, and the peak of this is a wrestling contest between the Olofa and Esa, the second in command. And history made us to know that no Olofa has ever lost a battle with Esa. That shows the supremacy of the Olofa. What they are trying to tell us is Olofa is the supreme leader, and he stands tall and higher. As much as he is not a de facto leader, don't get it wrong, it shows that the kind of understanding, the kind of bonding, and the people see him as their traditional and the spiritual leader of the Offa people. Offa is an important town in Kwara and Nigeria as a whole. And the Olofa, may his reign continue to be peaceful, has been doing everything possible to improve the status quo of the Ijakadi festival. And a lot of other things has been incorporated. If you are visiting, these are some of what we are going to bring back as a memory. We are definitely going to be live at the wrestling contest of the youth, where youth from different areas participate in this wrestling contest before the grand finale. They will tell us the story of Moremi. For those of us who are very familiar with Yoruba history, we know how important, how significant role the role Moremi played in liberation of Ife people. Now, they are telling us that Moremi is actually from Ofa. So they tell us the story, why she left, how she left, and how appreciative they are of her and what she has accomplished for the entire Yoruba race, or let me say, Ife people to be precise. They give us a story and several other stories and several other historical landmarks. The reason why Ofa people, just like every other person today, want equity and fairness in everything we do. This cultural festival bring the limelight of equity and transparency that Ofa people, and of course, God has actually tells us humans to be to one another. So if you are interested, please get in touch with bolabimedia or myself after the event.
Thank you very, very much. On a personal note, I can say this is quite impressive, eye-opening. I actually learned a
Thank
lot.
you.
I learned a lot, and I believe most of our viewers will be very excited and learn new things. I think in order not to take much of our time, we should be ending this section for now. So thank you very much. It's very
Please,
wonderful to have you here.
okay. Yes, thank you. I'm here with you.
You want to say something?
Yes, I
Okay. Is
actually
there any other
wanted
thing
to
you would
attend
like
to a
to share
question
with
here,
our
but I think
viewers?
as well, in reference to the topic of the day, I will let our viewers to know that our culture is whom we are. Our culture is what defines us, and we should be known by that cultural identity. Do well to sustain your cultural name. Do well to sustain everything about our culture, the names, the food, the greetings, and every other things encompasses in our culture. Uh, our culture and our heritages are what we're supposed to preserve so that our children will not be wandering in the world. They will be lost wanderers. You understand? So, and these are some of the things, even today, when you go online, you see a lot of people of Yoruba descent trying to teach their children Yoruba. They were born abroad. They know they did not understand Yoruba, and they begin to teach them. They begin to speak to them. They take teachers who teach them these Yoruba languages and culture. This cultural value is what has been missing. And the throwing away of our cultural value as an identity is actually affecting us as a nation. It's actually affecting us as an individual. Now, for us to grow, for you to grow, for me to grow, our cultural identity should be brought back in your home, in our state, and of course, in the country. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Some other time, I think we'll be ending the section here. So we are so much, we're so glad to have you here. And see you some other time. Thank you to all our
Thank
viewers.
you
I
very
believe
much.
and I surely believe you have enough. Bye now. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me too. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.